I think we all know who gets the giant L of the weekend. I'm sorry, Dortmund fans. I'm sorry. Hey everyone, I'm Adrian, and I just realized I'm wearing the same t-shirt as in my last video. Well, I mean, good thing nobody watched my Europa League predictions. Anyways, welcome to Rabona TV's weekend recap. That was a weird start. We take a look at the top 4 leagues in Europe as well as a bonus competition, and make sure you're up to date on the storylines that matter. Hitting you with that hard-hitting news. Also, as per usual, the weekend recap is brought to you by OneFootball, the best football app in the game that allows you to customize your newsfeed to the competitions and players you're interested in, live tickers, predictors, match highlights, goals, and so much more. Free download. I said free download in the description for iOS or Android. Do it. You will not regret it. Let's start in the Premier League, where on Friday, things looked a little shaky for title hopefuls Liverpool, but in the end, they got it done. At the beginning of the match, many Liverpool fans were happy as they finally got the midfield they had been hoping for in Fabinho, Wijnaldum, and Naby Keita, the latter of which has been under the microscope for underperforming in comparison to his time at RB Leipzig. Once again, Liverpool were against it after Shane Long scored in the 9th minute. Beautifully worked goal, by the way, as Bertrand whipped in the ball into the area. Højbjerg flicked it on and Long slotted past Alisson. But the man under the microscope, Keita, brought Liverpool level after he headed home. Who else but Trent Alexander-Arnold's cross? That was TAA's 7th assist so far in the Prem, which, what a season he's having. 7 assists, 1 goal, in 24 appearances. Then it felt like it was a night of frustration for Liverpool again, and once again for Salah as well. But with the Egyptian driving forward and probably most people calling for him to dish wide to Firmino, he took the strike himself and finally broke the camel's back. 2-1 Liverpool, and Jordan Henderson got a third for good measure. So, most importantly, Liverpool get the win, but if this instills some confidence in Salah, then it would be an even bigger W for them. Liverpool back on top, City, again, have a game in hand. Other than that, the matchups in the Prem weren't exactly heaters, but we gotta give big love to Brendan Rodgers and Leicester City, who have really shot up the standings. They sit in 7th now after their win against Huddersfield, but Leicester have won 5 of their last 6 matches, and yes, of course, they haven't been against the best of teams out there, but their true test will come in their final matches. Newcastle, West Ham, Arsenal, City, and Chelsea. And speaking of not exactly heaters, Arsenal were completely cold, limp spaghetti against Everton in their 1-0 loss at Goodison. But in saying that, we can't take anything away from Everton and Marco Silva because they've recently refound their form, with this win against Arsenal being their 3rd on the trot after defeating Chelsea 2-0 and West Ham 2-0. 36-year-old Phil Jagielka scored the only goal of the match and only his 4th appearance in the Premier League this season, his 2nd in 2019. Pretty decent strike rate for him, 1 goal from 4 appearances. Arsenal's away form continues to be a pretty big worry. If you were to make up a table considering away results only, Arsenal would be in 10th with 5 wins, 4 draws, and 6 losses. Alrighty. Bonus League is the FA Cup, more like bonus competition. In Saturday's match between Brighton and City, not much to talk about there, to be honest, with Gabriel Jesus scoring just 4 minutes in. Brighton played well. City wasn't at their full powers, though it was nice to see Mendy out there once again, only his 12th appearance of the entire season. City through to the final, and the quadruple is still on. Yeah, that's it for that one. Who would they play in the final, you ask? Well, for most of the match between Watford and Wolves, it looked as though we were in for a Wolves versus City final. Doherty or Doherty, depending on who you ask, put Wolves ahead in the 36th minute, heading Jota's cross past future pastor Aurelio Gomes. That's right, he's retiring at the end of the season to become a pastor. Then, after the half, Jimenez did extremely well to control the ball off his chest and smash it past the pastor to make it 2-0. But this Watford team under Javi Gracia is an extremely good side. The best thing they did was probably firing Marco Silva last season. And in the 79th minute, Gerard Deulofeu made it 2-1 with an exquisite lofted effort that Ruddy had no chance of saving. I can't even say his name. That Ruddy. Then in stoppage time, Dendoncker threw a leg in rather clumsily on Troy Deeney to give away a penalty. And from the resulting penalty, Deeney smashed it. The kind of penalty that you feel like if Ruddy had gotten behind it, it would have taken him into the goal with the ball. And Deeney would have a further say in this one in extra time as he slotted it wide to Deulofeu, who to complete his brace and send Watford into the final. Incredible performance from Deeney and Deulofeu, but Wolves players like Ivan Cavallero will be disappointed with the chances they spurned to make it 3-3 in extra time. So Watford versus City it is, and while City is obviously the favorite, the magic of the FA Cup, right? Okay, let's go to Spain, where we can basically call off the title race now because Diego Costa had some choice words for the referee in Atletico versus Barcelona. This match actually started out pretty evenly with the attack flowing in both directions, but as alluded to, in the 28th minute, Diego Costa said to the referee, oh, and hey, fair warning in case you're watching this in a church or a library. The referee said in his report that Costa screamed at him, "I shit on your whore mother, I shit on your whore mother." Yeesh. I mean, maybe ease up a little bit next time, because you know that when you start to get fired up, especially when you're Diego Costa, you're one of those players that is going to get plenty of attention for doing so. So to blatantly scream that in his face is pretty idiotic. He's a guy who plays on the edge and that can be a boon to his team most of the time, but then things like this can happen. And the word is that he could be out for 4 to 8 matches. Don't know how likely that is, but that's what's sort of floating around there right now. And things like Messi and Suarez will happen to you as well. As for the second match running, Suarez and Messi teamed up to destroy the hopes and dreams of their opponents. Earlier in the week, they snatched a point from under Villarreal's nose in the dying minutes of the game, and here, Suarez was perfect with his finish again, and Messi completely wrong-footed Oblak to make it 2-0. Poor Oblak, by the way. He made some great saves in this one to keep Atletico in it. So Simeone's run of never defeating Barcelona in La Liga continues. Isn't that crazy? 15 matches now with 0 victories against Barcelona. Wild. Real Madrid played at home to Eibar, and damn it if they are ever having a tough time getting butts and seats these days, as they legit have nothing to play for anymore, so I guess it's sort of understandable. It's crazy though. When your capacity is 81,000, 50,000 spectators makes it look empty. Obviously because everyone is paying for the cheap tickets, so the lower bowl looks only half filled. But still, why am I talking so much about attendance? Who cares, right? Cardona put Eibar ahead, but Madrid's savior, Karim Benzema, scored a brace in the second half to give Los Merengues the victory. Those were his 16th and 17th goal of this La Liga season, his best tally since the 2015-16 season when he was on fire, man. Elsewhere at the bottom of the table, Villarreal took on Betis. Well, Betis isn't at the bottom of the table, but you get me. And this was a tragic match, man. Lo Celso scored a brace for Betis, while Ramiro Funes Mori scored for Villarreal, with the assist going to Santi Cazorla. Tragically for Cazorla, with Villarreal needing all the points they can get at this point, he blew a penalty for Villarreal in the 88th minute, hitting it right down the middle into the arms of Paulo Lopez. And after the match, he was sobbing in the tunnel of the Benito Villamarin Stadium. That's heartbreaking. A man that truly loves this club, and that loss means that with 7 matches to go, Villarreal is in the drop zone. By no means is their fate sealed, of course. They can still escape, but that point would have been helpful. By the way, yeah, still struggling from the allergies, guys. But anyways, at the top, it looks like this, with Barcelona's lead increased to 11 points, and Atletico is in danger of getting passed by Real Madrid. What does that say about Atletico's season, huh? Italia had an interesting matchup this week. AC Milan away to Juventus, and when I turned the match on, I was turned on by the fact that Piatek and Milan were leading. Hey, cool. Looks like we'll have a result to shake things up, but nah, man. Fino alla fine is Juve's words for a reason, and of course they found a way back into this one, not only to salvage a point, but to get a win. I thought that Paulo Dybala was pretty anonymous in this game once again, until the second half, culminating in when he drew the penalty in the 60th and converted it himself. He was subbed off for Moise Kean, the dude who can't stop scoring no matter who he's playing for, and wouldn't you know it, the kid went on to score the winner in the 84th minute because he's a baller, and he has all the attributes to be an incredible striker. He's tall, fast, lethal finisher. So far at least. 5 goals in his last 5 appearances, 6 goals in 8 appearances overall for Juve. He'd actually scored twice, but one of them was disallowed when Romagnoli dove during a corner. Anyway, Milan had some shouts for a pen as well. I really look forward to Atalanta versus Inter, but in the end, it wasn't that great. Inter had some decent chances to win the match, but it didn't take them once again. Atalanta looked a little dull in the attack without Zapata. Mind you, even with Icardi, Inter looked toothless as well. 0-0 there. Roma, they won. And damn it if they didn't do it away to Sampdoria. I basically only brought up this match because Sampdoria's president was a real class act on Twitter after he was baited into a Twitter beef with a Roma supporter. Massimo Ferrero said, "Oh yeah, and if you're in a church or a library or a daycare, fair warning here, you don't want people to hear this. Your dick is so little, I can't even see it, so I can't hop on it. But if you want, you can get on mine. Wash your mouth out before talking about Sampdoria fans. Love you." Nobody cut that and play it out of context, please. Absolutely baited, though. Other than that, elsewhere we had lowly Frosinone getting their second win on the trot after beating Parma 3-2 last week. They beat Fiorentina 1-0 away at the Artemio Franchi, which gets me thinking, is the Great Escape on for the Minnows? They're on 25 points in 19th, while Empoli are on 28 in 17th, and each has 7 matches left. It's going to be interesting. Oh yeah, and the antithesis of interesting is at the top, where after Napoli couldn't find a winner against Genoa, who were down to 10 men from the 28th minute onward, Juve now have a 20-point lead. Big yawn in Italy. As bad as Liga officially. The only interesting part of Italy's standings is the race for 4th at the moment, and the relegation battle. Okay, and we'll wrap things up in Germany. And then I'm gonna go take an antihistamine and go to bed. And to make sure Dennis doesn't get mad at me, I'll talk about Eintracht Frankfurt right off the top. I'm joking, man. Love ya. As I said in my Europa League predictions, Eintracht Frankfurt hadn't lost a single match since December when they got smacked 3-0 to Bayern. This time they were away to Schalke, a team basically playing for pride at this point after losing the DFB Pokal recently, and Frankfurt left it late to get the winner. They dominated Schalke, but it took a 98th minute penalty from Luka Jovic for them to get the win. And with that win, that makes for 8 wins and 2 draws from their last 10 matches. Next up for them, Benfica. The other team that keeps on winning and is undefeated in their last 10 matches now, RB Leipzig. They got a tasty 4-2 win away to Bayer Leverkusen. Once the first half was up, Leipzig were actually losing 2-1, but Timo Werner and Emil Forsberg rolled back the years to the 2016-17 season to turn the match around with a goal and an assist each. Speaking of unbeaten runs, you can't celebrate RB Leipzig and Frankfurt without giving props to Werder Bremen, who are now undefeated in 11 matches, having not lost once in 2019 across all competitions. It's insane, man. If they hadn't started so poorly, tell me if that sounds familiar, by the way, Werder Bremen fans, then they likely would have been fighting for somewhere around, 4th to 6th. All right. And finally, Bayern Munich hosted a black and yellow team that resembled Borussia Dortmund, but it couldn't have been Borussia Dortmund, the team that was in first before this match. There's no way the Bundesliga leaders, well, former leaders now, could have defended that naively, right? Or were that hopeless in trying to string a few passes together, or that incapable of attacking. Sure, Dahoud hit the bar early, but from then on, it was all Bayern. Dortmund had 4 attempts. Bayern got their first in the 10th minute, and by the time the halftime whistle was blown, they were leading 4-0 already. Dortmund figured out their defending a little bit in the second, still relinquishing 7 of the 22 shots that Bayern had on the day, but Lewandowski wasn't finished with embarrassing his former team, finishing his brace off in the 89th minute. He's now scored in 5 consecutive Bundesliga matches against Dortmund, notching 10 in that time frame. So, that victory means that Bayern and Dortmund trade places once again in the standings. Bayern's on 64, Dortmund on 63 with just 6 matches remaining. Dortmund still has to play Schalke, Werder Bremen, and Mönchengladbach of note, while Bayern, their notable features are Werder Bremen also, RB Leipzig away, and their final match of the season at home to Eintracht Frankfurt. So, it's not settled just yet. We could have a great title race in Germany. Just like in Portugal, where Benfica won again. What a goal by Seferovic. 2 goals by Seferovic. All right, boys, and the 4.7% of you that are girls, thanks once again for watching. If you enjoyed this, then hit me with that like. If not, the thumbs down is there for a reason. My name is Adrian. Thanks so much for joining me, despite me wearing the same t-shirt as in my last video. Why not join me tomorrow for a watch along, and I'll see you later. Peace.